Welcome back, all of you. In the last couple of classes, we discussed a lot of things about fundamentals of NMR, including its historic perspective, concept of spin, and we discussed about spin angular momentum, magnetic moment, magnetic quantum number, and the interaction of the nuclear spin or magnetic moment with the external magnetic field, the effect of magnetic field, as the linearity of the interaction with the magnetic field, and then we also discussed several things about the sensitivity of detection, and we also arrived at what are the nuclei which give rise to NMR and how to arrive at the nuclear spin, whether it's odd integer or even integer. And we applied lots of pulses. We discussed about magnetization, population different ratio, Boltzmann distribution, how to induce resonance, and what is bulk magnetization. After introducing the concept of bulk magnetization, how do we tilt the magnetization by any angle we like, the pulse phases, RF phases, signal phases, everything we discussed. Okay. And last time, we also discussed about, for example, free induction decay, T1 and T2 recovery. That is T1 decay where the coherence which is created will get completely decoherence as a function of time. And then growth of magnetization along z-axis to retain thermal equilibrium. All those things were discussed. Okay. And we also got the free induction decay. We got the signal. That's what we did the Fourier transformation, and we knew how to get the NMR spectrum. And one thing I wanted to tell you, when we start discussing about NMR, especially the spectrum after Fourier transformation, we get peaks with certain width. There will be a natural line width for the peak. You will not get a delta peak like this, sharp peak like this. Okay, it's not possible to get that. What is the reason for it? There is a natural line width for this. This is given by this. Due to uncertainty principle, delta E into delta T is equal to H cross. We know energy and time are uncertainty pairs. Okay. It means absolute peak is not a delta function and has some natural line width due to the lifetime of the spins in the excited state. That is an important concept. You should know that. Now the spins are excited here. What is the lifetime of the spin? Okay, if comes here and goes back, what is the lifetime of this? When the spins are here, it has to be excited to the high energy level. So observed peak is not a delta function mainly because of natural line width, depending upon the lifetime of the spins in the excited state. Now the shorter the lifetime, the larger is the spread, because delta T becomes smaller and smaller, energy spread becomes larger and larger, because this is a constant value now. Okay. So now if it resides in this state for a shorter time, then the spread of this energy becomes even larger, like this energy state. Then what will happen to the signal? Signal can be from here to here, here to here, here to here. There are a number of possible transitions you can think of due to spread in the energy level. As a consequence, you don't get a delta function of single frequency. You get peaks resonating at various frequencies like this. And you are going to get width like this. This is the width of the peak. It is coming because of uncertainty principle. Uncertainty and the natural line width is coming because of this. Okay. Fine. That you can't do anything. You can get the homogeneity, tune the magnetic field, try to get the best resolution. But beyond the natural line width, you can't do anything. That is inherently present. We have to accept that. Okay. Now, when I have to detect the transitions, when I get the NMR spectrum, I said, let us say I have a spin, one spin, and I get one transition. I have 10 spins, I'll get 10 transitions. What do you mean by getting a transitions? Remember, we had a spin one state, spin half situation we got. We have two states, minus half and plus half. We also discussed the situation of spin one. We have minus 1, 0, and plus 1, 3 states. Okay, that's what we discussed. If I go to 3 by 2 state, minus 3 by 2, half, minus half, okay, minus 3 by 2, minus half, plus half, and 3 by 2, 4 states. Now, what do you mean by observing the peak? Observing the peak is the population difference between two energy states. That's what I said. Now the spins go from here to here or here to here. What is allowed? Can it go from here to here and also come back from here to here? Is it allowed? Or spin can go only from here to here and come back only from here to here. Or if we extend this, can the spin go from here to here and come back from here to here? What are the allowed things? What are the allowed energy levels? Between them, spins can undergo transitions. That means what I mean by transition is the spins can undergo flipping from alpha state to beta state and beta state to alpha state. That is the requirement for observing the signal. As I said, there are two transitions. When the spin goes from plus alpha to alpha state to beta state or beta to alpha state, that is from plus half to minus half, or it comes from minus half to plus half state, we are seeing the signal. One of the important conditions to see that transition, when this happens, if there are, let's say, 100 spins here and 99 spins here, the difference of population, one spin I am detecting. So for such a thing to happen, the transition should take place only between the energy levels where M changes by plus 1 or minus 1. What is M? I already told you. M is a magnetic quantum number which depends upon I. Mi, I said. It goes from minus I to plus I. For spin half state, we have two states, minus half and plus half. Is the transition allowed between them? Look at it. If the spin comes from, okay, it goes from plus half to minus half, take the difference, it is 1. If it also came back, let's say, from minus half to plus half, it came down. Not only it went up, it came down. Take the difference here, minus half plus half, it is minus 1. So both are allowed transitions. The transition can take place when the spins undergo flipping from the magnetic, from the two energy states whose difference in the magnetic quantum number should be either plus 1 or minus 1. So if it is M is equal to minus half and M is equal to plus half here, the difference is called delta M. Delta M between these two energy states. That is difference in the total magnetic quantum number of two energy states. For this energy state, magnetic quantum number is minus 1, this is plus 1, minus half plus half. This difference is what you are going to see if it is plus 1 or minus 1. Otherwise, transitions are not allowed. Anything other than this are called forbidden transitions in NMR. Let me give you one more example like this. And also, one more thing you should understand in this case, what is happening is, if there are number of spins, only the change in the quantum here of quantum of energy between the states is only one. It is a single quantum energy change. Plus half to minus half or minus half to plus half coming is only change in the energy by only one quantum. Only one spin is changing its state. It is called single quantum transitions. A transition where one spin changes its state to alpha or beta, beta to alpha. If not one spin, even two spins or three spins does not matter. But the total magnetic quantum number of this state and this state you find out, and the change in this magnetic quantum number between these two states should be always plus 1 or minus 1. That means when the magnetic quantum number changes by plus 1 or minus 1, it is called single quantum transitions. Please understand, when the magnetic quantum number changes between two energy states, either by plus 1 or minus 1. It can be single spin or multiple spin, no problem. Multiple spins also can undergo transition. But total change in the magnetic quantum number between two energy states must be either plus 1 or minus 1. They are called single quantum transitions. Okay. This we just now we understood. For spin half nuclei, this is allowed transition because delta M is equal to plus 1 or minus 1. Now my question is, let us look at spin 1 nuclei. There are three possible energy states, M equal to minus 1, 0 and plus 1. Now what are the allowed transitions here? Remember, minus 1 to 0. Is it allowed? Difference is minus 1. 0 to minus 1 is also allowed. Difference is 1. 0 to 1 is allowed. Difference is minus 1. 1 to 0 is also allowed. Difference is 1. What about transition of here to here? -1 to +1. If we take the difference, it is 2, +2 or -2. It is double quantum. Okay, it requires two quantum of energy, not single quantum. In all these changes here, when the magnetic quantum number changes by +1 or -1, there is one quantum of change in the energy. But here, two quantum of energy. That's not allowed. Only single quantum is detected. That is the allowed transitions. So now let us see what are the allowed transitions in the spin 1 system. This is allowed. This is also allowed. What are the other things allowed here? Nothing. There are only two possible transitions allowed in the spin 1 nuclei. Now, what about the spin 3/2 case we will take? What are the possible energy states? What are the possible magnetic quantum numbers? 3/2, -3/2, -half, +half, and +3/2. Now look at it. What are the allowed things? -3/2 to -half is allowed. Okay, take the difference. It is 1. Okay. Either way is also possible. -half to -3/2. If you go, it is -1. Okay, that's also allowed. This is allowed transition. What about between these two? Of course, it is allowed because we saw in the spin-off case, spin-off nuclear case, +half and -half are the two energy states. We know it is allowed. What about +3/2 to half? That's also allowed. But what about transition from here to here? There is change of two quantum of energy. It is called double quantum. That is not allowed. Not at all. What about from here to here? If we take the difference from here to here, it is three quantum of energy. It is triple quantum. It is definitely forbidden. So this one is a double quantum transition where two quantum of energy is involved. Here triple quantum, three quantum of energy is involved. They are not allowed. Only single quantum transition where change in the spin angular momentum is either +1 or -1 are allowed. So in this case also only three are allowed. That's what we observed. So now let us understand in the transitions what we observe in isolated spins and coupled spins. Okay, coupled spins we will discuss little later when we introduce spin-spin coupling, scalar coupling. At the moment, I'll just simply tell you for uncoupled spins what are the energy levels, what are the allowed transitions. That we will discuss. Of course, barely you can always think of an isolated spin one, spin off nuclei, one spin. Which is the example for that? Think of chloroform, CHCl3. If I take CHCl3, okay, CHCl3, now only one proton is there if I want to detect. Of course, don't worry, this is the natural abundance. I do not expect this to interact at the moment. Okay, we will not consider that. We'll see only one proton and this will not interact with chlorine also. How many energy levels you can think of? Only one proton is there and spin-off nuclei, there are only two possible energy states. This is like this. It can be treated like an isolated spin-half nucleus. Although it is in a molecule, at the moment we will ignore the interaction with carbon-13 and also there is interaction with chlorine Cl3, in which case we say it is an isolated spin-half nucleus, a number of allowed transitions is only one. So if you go and take the spectrum of chloroform in NMR, how many peaks you should get? Only one peak. Okay, that's what happens. That's what you hear. That's what you observe. Nothing else you will see. Okay, single spin isolated gives a single peak. Now let us consider the energy level diagram for homo and heteronuclear spins and see how many transitions are allowed in each of the cases. How we detect the transition. This is a very important thing so that for future classes to understand this is a requirement. Now if I consider energy states of two homonuclear spins, remember I am considering two homonuclear spins. There are possibilities like this. Two homonuclear spins are like this. I have two protons. This proton and this proton, they can interact because there are two tiny magnets. They can interact. They need not interact. Doesn't matter. Either of them is possible. When they interact, there is an interaction energy. You know what is the interaction strength. I'll tell you what is that coupling and everything later. If there could be interaction, there may not be interaction. Now we consider both the possibilities. Let us see what happens. Okay. Now, if I have two spins, what are the possible orientations of each spins? Whether it is coupled or uncoupled, does not matter. Whether they're interacting or not. Let us say this spin 1 is there. Only one spin is there, not spin 1. Only one spin, which is spin half nuclei, one proton. It can have two orientations, plus half and minus half. I have to take another spin, another proton, two orientations again, plus half and minus half. Now I'll take both of them together. What are the combinations you can think of? Both can be up, both can be down, or this up, this down, or this up, this down. Only four possibilities. Let us find out what happens if both are down. When it is down, this is spin half minus half nuclei, spin half minus half orientation. This is spin minus half. The total magnetic quantum number for this energy state is sum of these two. Please understand, the total magnetic quantum number for this energy state, if you take, it is the sum of the individual magnetic moments. What is the individual magnetic moment of this spin in this state? Minus half. This is minus half. So what is the total magnetic momentum of this energy state? Minus half plus minus half. This is minus 1. What about this state? This is minus half, this is plus half. So what is the total magnetic moment of this energy state? 0. Minus half plus half. If you take sum of these, it is 0. So total magnetic moment of any energy state, if you want, you have to take magnetic state, the state of each of the spin. What is its magnetic moment? Either plus half or minus half, and then take the sum. That's all. Now we do the same thing here. This is plus half, this is minus half. So if you take the sum, it is 0. So for this is the state where total magnetic moment is 0. What about this one? Plus half and plus half. Sum is 1. So now there are four possible energy states corresponding to four possible orientation. The magnetic moment, okay, magnetic moment of each energy state, if you calculate, this is minus 1, 0, 0, plus 1. But remember one thing I have written. Alpha and beta states I have put as nearly same for homonuclear spin. I use the word nearly same. Although plus half and minus half is 0, minus half plus half is 0. But if you go very, very deep into the NMR theory, it is not exactly equal. There is small difference could be there. That we will not worry. But for your level, for the level of understanding at the moment, without going into the detail advanced NMR, we will say both the energies are equal, and I have written energy states nearly equal. Although small difference I have given, don't worry about it. Okay. So this is the energy states for the homonuclear spins. 4 energy states, you write like this. What about the energy states for 2 heteronuclear spins? Like one is proton, other is carbon. How does it work? Look at this. This is the energy state I have written. Now, these two have one energy separation. You see, look at this. And that is exactly equal to this. Look at this energy separation. This is exactly equal to this energy separation. That means 2 energy separations are same for in one case, and 2 energy separation, these 2 energy separations are same in other case. Why did I write like that? Remember, I am considering 2 heteronuclei. One is proton, hydrogen, okay? One is proton. Other is carbon, carbon 13. What is the gamma of carbon 13? Gamma of carbon 13 is 1/4 of that of the proton. What do you understand from the concepts we have so far discussed? If the gamma is 1/4 less, the energy separation is 1/4 less. Right? So what we did is the same in the homonuclear case what you observed, we wrote 4 energy levels. But remember, this I wrote is the energy separation for heteronuclear spin, that is carbon 13. This separation is 4 times smaller than this separation. This is another energy separation for this. This is 4 times smaller than this. Now why I wrote like this? What is this one? This is simple. To understand this one, we will look at the transitions later. But at the moment you understand, I consider this is beta state of spin 1. This is beta state of spin 2. Let us consider 1 as proton and 2 as carbon 13. That's what we consider. Now, transition from this to this is allowed. Minus 1 and 0. Minus 1 and 0. This is allowed. Plus 1, 0. This is allowed. Plus 1 and 0. This is allowed. So there are 4 transition allowed because the magnetic quantum number of this energy state is minus 1, 0, 0, plus 1. Similar to homonuclear case. This is what we got. Can I allow this transition? Is allowed. In this transition, what is the spin which nuclei is changing its state? Look at it. I said 1 is proton, 2 is carbon. The carbon, oh no, I'm sorry, it should be different because the carbon we have made smaller here. Okay. 1 is carbon, 2 is proton. Because I have written this energy state smaller. So we will consider this to be carbon energy. So 1 is carbon, 2 is proton. In this case, proton is changing state from beta to alpha. One single quantum is allowed. But state of carbon is remaining same. This transition corresponds to proton. Understand? If the transition takes place between these two states, this has to be for proton because proton is changing its state from alpha to beta and vice versa. What about this transition? This is also allowed, 1 and 0. But here, again, proton is changing its state from alpha to beta. These two are proton transitions. The energy separation is larger. I'll say larger intensity peak like this. Okay, we'll go to the next one. This transition is allowed. What is getting changed? It is minus 1 and 0. Which spin is changing its state? 1 is carbon. See, carbon 1 is changing from alpha to beta and beta to alpha. This is allowed. What about proton state? Remains unaltered. Okay. What about this one? Here also, alpha of carbon is changing to beta and vice versa. But proton state remains unaltered. So these two correspond to carbon transition and these two correspond to proton transitions. And I said this separation is larger, the intensity is larger. I'll say this is larger and this is only 1/4 intensity. This is for carbon. That's why I wrote these energy states like this. Proton has highest intensity, 4 times more than that of the carbon. This is the heteronuclear energy state. Small gap is for heteronuclear with dilute spin with less gamma. This large gap is for proton with abundant gamma. Okay, that's it. Now we look at the transitions into non-interacting spins. Two non-interacting spins. That means the same two spins will consider whether it's homonuclear or heteronuclear. Does that matter? There is no interaction between these two. They are simply isolated spins. Nevertheless, we consider a situation. One has a chemical shift A, which I'll discuss. Instead of chemical shift, I'm using the word. So one comes at frequency A, other comes at frequency X. We'll say that because I have not introduced chemical shift yet. That I'm going to talk in the next class. So one comes at frequency A, one comes at frequency X. I'll assume like that. Now find out what are the 4 magnetic states for this. What is the total magnetic moment of each of these energy states? First is plus half, plus half. Both are alpha state. This is plus 1. Second energy state, plus half, minus half, 0. Minus half, plus half, 0. Minus half, minus 1. These are the only possible magnetic states. We arrived at simply taking the sum of each individual magnetic moment of the particular state. That's all we did. Okay. We wrote the energy level. We knew that. We have taken the example for our homonuclear. We already discussed. Now let us look at the allowed transitions. This is allowed. I said it is one spin that correspond to A is undergoing transition. Homonuclear, if I take 2 protons, I don't care which is which. I call one is A, other is X. That's all. This corresponds to one of the transition for a particular proton. I labeled it as A. This is A transition. What about this? Here also, alpha of A is changing to beta of A. Similarly here, Alpha phase changing to beta A and vice versa. What is this transition? That is also a transition. Right. Now, what about what are the other transitions allowed? Use your selection rule, what you understood just now. Is this allowed? Plus 1 to minus 1 to 0, allowed. Difference is 1. Minus 1 or plus 1, both are allowed. So here, state of proton remains unaltered, remains same. But state of X is changing from alpha to beta. What is this transition then? X transition. What is allowed now? One more. Allowed. This is also allowed. Again, state of proton is remaining unaltered. State of X is getting changed from alpha to beta. What is this transition? X transition. So how many X transitions you got? 2. How many A transitions we got? 2. In a 2-spin system, which are non-interacting, we got 4 spins. I'm sorry, 4 transitions. 4 peaks we get. But remember, this is energy separation, this energy separation, this as this. Okay, this is same as this, and this is same as this. That means A transition, although there are two peaks, the frequencies are same because this energy separation is same. What will happen then? Both A transitions will overlap and give us a single peak. It is like 2 peaks, one over the other, overlap. What about X? X also this and this, same frequency because the energy separation is same. Here also there are 2 peaks, overlapped, one over the other. There are 2 peaks. So in the essential, you see 1 peak for A and 1 peak for X. That's all. You understood? So how many peaks we got? Totally 4 peaks, 2 for A and 2 for X. Because of the energy is same, they are non-interacting spins. If they were interacting, it would have been different. You would have got 4 peaks. But since they are non-interacting, there is an overlap of transitions and you get only 2 peaks. That's all. Let us take an example. I have a molecule. 10 different protons are there. 10 different hydrogens are there. None of them are interacting with each other. How many peaks you expect? 10 peaks. Because each of them, you consider as an isolated spin. If you consider the possibility of spin orientations, you have to write, okay, 10 may be different. Take 3. You have to take alpha, 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 beta, 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 this like the 2 up, 1 down. All combinations you have to see. Then you find out what are the allowed transitions. If there is no interactions, you will find out if there are 3 spins, you get only 3 peaks. Because each of them get 4 peaks, they overlap. So in a non-interacting spins, there may be n number of spins present in the molecule. If none of them are interacting among themselves, then you get 1 peak for each of the spin. This can be treated like n isolated spins. You understand? This is what happens if the spins are not coupled or interacting. Now, basically in NMR, that situation is very rare. All the spins generally will interact. Maybe if they are far away, their coupling is low, interaction strength is low. But generally they interact. Then you will not get 2 peaks which are overlapped. You get 2 separate peaks like this. That is what we are going to discuss when you go to scalar coupling discussion, etc. But you please understand now, in this 2 non-interacting spin cases, 2 frequencies A and X, 4 peaks are there, 2 will overlap and you get only 2 peaks like this. 1 for A, 1 for X. I am assuming here frequency of X is larger than that of A. I am not talking anything about chemical shift for you. It is a symbol used for chemical shift called delta. Right now I don't worry about it. This is what I say, frequency of X is larger than A, so I get 2 peaks like this. If I take a 2 non-interacting spins, put in the NMR magnet, take the spectrum, you get 2 peaks like this. You understood? So when it interacts, it becomes very complex. And why they get separated like this? Why instead of why can't they both these peaks come at the same frequency? All those things we discuss. That comes under a topic called chemical shift. And why these people are, if they are interacting, what will happen? There is a coupling and there is a further splitting of the energy level. This comes in a topic called scalar coupling. All these things together gives NMR spectrum, beautiful spectrum with more multiplicity, more complexity, more dispersion, etc. So we analyze all those things in the subsequent classes from next class onwards. And then by the end of this class, we should be in a position to analyze all NMR spectra of various nuclei and take examples. And I'll discuss all of them with you. So, okay, that's it for now. And in all these several classes, previous classes, this was the conceptual understanding of variety of things we discussed. Okay. And most important thing is what happens to spin, what is the sensitivity, what is the interaction, and what is the this thing coherence, what is saturation, what happens to the coherence, what happens to the longitudinal magnetization. Number of things we discussed, I tell you, in the last about 8 or 10 classes. This please go back and read what I have given you. NMR is a huge ocean. What I have given is a tip of an iceberg. There are a lot of things to understand. But this one is the basic requirement for you to understand at least fundamentals of NMR so that you will be comfortable enough to analyze the spectrum and interpret. So this, at least this much, please, what I don't only rely on what I have been talking. What I have given is some concepts, some ideas. It is only very small percentage. Lot of information you have to get from the literature. Please go through books and journals and you will understand much more. So we will stop here. From next class onwards, we'll go to other topics like chemical shift coupling, interpretation of multiplicity, and the varieties of spins, etc. Variety of nuclei, will lot of other topics. After 1D, then we go to 2D. Lot more thing to cover in the remaining classes of this course. Okay, I thank you. I'll stop here for the day.